In May 2018, we launched our first ever Building a Legacy offering. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was exciting and petrifying all at the same time, I remember. Later on that year, in August 2018, we took up our first ever Building a Legacy offering towards buying land as a church. And later on that year, in November 2018, I was in Thailand at a conference. And it was at the end of a meeting one evening when I was standing down the front at the altar call. And the guest speaker, many of you would know her, Pastor Margaret Stunt, who is a great woman of God. She came up to me and at the time didn't know me at all. And she placed her hand on my shoulder and she began to speak to me. She said, "Amy, I see you standing in the middle of a field. And it is a field of souls, a field of salvations." In that moment, I still remember it to this day. The power and the presence of God hit me. And it was like instantly I was transported to this field. And I began to see this field covered with people. And there were dads playing with their kids. There were mums holding their babies. There were people of all ages, all backgrounds on this field. And there were young people playing. There were grandparents looking on, and this field was packed with people. I began to cry uncontrollably as God began to speak to me about the harvest that was to come, that this field would be a home for the harvest, that it would contain the harvest that God was about to bring, that many people would come to know the life-changing power of Jesus in this field.
It was 2 years after Amy first received that prophetic word about the land that she would step into, that we purchased the land here at Chinderah, Phillip Street. But it was only until we stepped onto the land after receiving the prophetic word that we were reminded of that word some years before. We were overwhelmed when thinking about just the goodness and the grace of God. Ever since then, I believe there's been a sense of God bringing us into a new season in God, a season of increase and harvest and fruitfulness. And so we invite you, church, to come and see with fresh eyes and fresh vision what God already sees.
Yeah.
That this land that we stand on here is much more than just purely a block of dirt. But this land is in God's plan to become a home of healing, a home of restoration, a home of discipleship, and a home for the harvest. How good is that? Isn't it great to see
So
that?
exciting.
You know, church, from now until August the 6th, we're in a season that we call Building a Legacy season, where we together build our faith and our vision together for what God wants to do in and through us for the future. We're asking for you as the church to do two things. Number one, to pray. Number two, to obey. You can remember that, to pray. We're asking that you would pray for this home for the harvest, that we would see salvations, even beginning right now.
Yeah.
Not waiting for the building to be built, but even
Absolutely.
now, a harvest of salvations and souls and soul winning and discipleship. That's what we're asking of you. We want you to pray for God's provision financially for the whole build. Third thing we want you to pray for is through the development approval process, that as it goes to council, the plans go to council in May, we're believing, that there would just be the miraculous hand of God upon the whole DA process. It would be in record time. It would just be amazing, just the sense of God. Second thing we're asking you to do is to obey. We ask this every year, that you would ask God, how much do you want me to give to this year's Building a Legacy offering? And then your response is to obey. That's what I'm asking of you, that you ask God, how much do you want me to give? And friends, I'm just reminded of John 4, where Jesus said to his disciples, he said, you know what, guys, I want you to lift up your eyes and see that the field is white and ready for harvest. I'm praying we get a fresh revelation of that at this time of year, that the field is ripe and ready for harvest. As we believe together for God to bring a home, to build a home for the harvest here on the Northern Rivers.